The Pistons had the third worst record in the league, the second worst record in the East, and the fifth worst net rating. While there wasn't much in terms of excitement with them last season, they definitely saw some movement in the right direction. They had the first overall pick last season, and if you're watching this, you probably know who they selected with it. Cade had a rocky start to the season, but had a strong enough second half to earn first team All-Rookie honors. Now it's time for them to select his franchise running mate. So I've scoured the internet for mock drafts to gain information and selected 4 players I think have a chance to be selected by them, and I'm going to give you some info on them. So without any further dilly-dallying, let's get into it. The hype around Jaden Ivey has seemed to have died down a bit recently. The focus on the top 3 guys and the addition of Shaedon Sharpe to the fold have no doubt influenced this. However, in my eyes at least, he's still in that upper tier in this class. He's an elite athlete and has drawn a lot of comparisons to Ja Morant. From a burst perspective, yeah, I can see it. Morant is a much better vertical athlete and far more craftier when finishing in the air. Ivey is bigger though, so he wears bumps and nudges better on his way to the basket. His jumper was much improved in his second year at Purdue, and I think he'll be a viable shooter at the NBA. That means I feel like he can play off the ball too, which will be key if he's going to play with Cade long term. I believe in Cade shooting improving in the long run, and having 2 guys who can shoot and create to some degree is a great way to build your team. The passing has potential, but will need some work to reach that true high-level facilitator status. You won't ever need to be that good if Cade's around though, but the fact that Cade is there might mean he may not get enough reps to truly develop that skill. But the combo of them both together should provide more than enough playmaking. The defense again has potential, but it will require more effort and attention on his part. There does seem to be a culture of accountability in Detroit though, so I could definitely see that developing. Now let's talk about Shaedon Sharpe out of Kentucky. Sharpe is an electric athlete. He's got some truly jaw-dropping burst and explosion at the rim. He makes it look so effortless when he gets into the restricted area. He's a pretty good finisher at the rim in general, and his length helps him in this regard too. Sharpe is a big time scorer and has some serious shot creation upside. His jumpers should be pure from both inside and outside the arc, and that combined with his ability at the rim should be a good foundation for a high level scorer. His vertical athleticism doesn't really translate to a great deal of explosion off the dribble, and is definitely more of a slow methodical dribbler than a freight train like Jaden Ivey. There is potential there though, and I wouldn't rule out any growth. The passing also wasn't a major negative, but it wasn't a real positive either. I'm not sure he can ever be the focal point of an offense, despite him having the ability to be a team's best scorer because of that. That shouldn't be that much of a worry since the Pistons already have Cade, and I actually think his skill set complements Cade very well. Also, for all his athleticism at the rim, he didn't really show that much lateral quickness on the perimeter, and that was in high school. His length and verticality are good tools for him to have, and project him as at least a decent help and recovery defender, but he's still got a lot of work to do on that end. The offensive upside is why you're drafting him though, and the potential combination of Sharpe and Cunningham should get some butts in the seats of Little Caesars Arena. Moving on, let's talk about Keegan Murray out of Iowa. Murray might be one of the most solid players in this draft. He was an elite scorer in the Big Ten last season and put up 2K-esque numbers. I think he can scale back his usage and still be effective because of his ability as a shooter, a cutter, and his scoring ability off early steals inside. I think he'd be a great complement to Cade on the offensive end. At 22 years of age, he should be very effective from the jump and might help lift the Pistons to playing contention. The defense is where my evaluation of him differs from the consensus though. I'm much higher on his potential on that end. He will probably struggle when he's switched on to guards and hyper-athletic wings, but as a rim protector inside, and when he's up against slower wings and bigs, I think he can be really good. Jeremy Grant is in the final year of his deal, and unless the Pistons plan on bringing him back, they're gonna need to replace him. Murray should be able to do that for a decade. Lastly, let's talk about Benedict Mathurin out of Arizona. There really is no need to complicate the case for Mathurin here. He was a really nice shooter during his time in Arizona, his movement off the ball was great, he's a high-level athlete, plus there's both defensive and ball handling potential there. The real worst case scenario is he joins Saddiq Bey as a knockdown shooter with great movement on the perimeter. Best case scenario is he adds the ability to be a secondary ball handler and capitalizes on his athletic gifts by working on his awareness and IQ on defense. That would be a great addition to Cade at the 2-guard spot, which will probably be open if Killian Hayes continues on this trajectory.